The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning, Bahamas. Good morning, good morning. You are on the clock with Erin Greene on 96.9 FM. And today is Monday, March the 1st, 2021. On the clock, we engage organizations, institutions, social and cultural leaders, and ordinary people to better understand the impact of public policy, private sector development, and emerging social and consumer trends. On the clock, we have conversations that help us understand and navigate a rapidly changing Bahamas. Now, to my listening audience, today going to be like a call-in show. It's not an open line per se. I can tell you some of the things I saw in the paper I want to talk about today, and then there's a particular subject I want to focus on. So if you want to join this conversation, you can tune into Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We're streaming live, audio and video, on GuardianTalkRadio.com. You can listen on TV on Cable Bahamas, channel 96.9, or download the Guardian Radio app for your Apple or Android smart devices. And listen to our audio feed or watch us on our video feed right there on the Guardian Radio app. You can text us on the Guardian Radio text line, that's 422-4796. That's 422-4796. Standard text rates apply, and you can call us at 323-6232, 325-4316, or 326-4259. So, some highlights. It's March. Some special things happen in March. All last February, I highlighted, as much as possible, Black History Month, Africans in the Americas History Month, and Bahamian history. This month, I'm going to take some time to talk to women in the Bahamas doing big things, and to men and women whose work is all about supporting women, ending violence against women, supporting men and women, growing and developing positive and healthy relationships between men and women. So March means IWD. That's Women in Leadership. That's International Women's Day, right? And the theme for this year's International Women's Day, which is March 8th, is Women in Leadership, achieving an equal future in the COVID-19 world. And one of the biggest things happening in March is CSW, which is the Conference on the Status of Women. And the theme for this year's conference is Women's Full and Effective Participation and Decision-Making in Public Life. So this month, we're going to be talking a lot about women in public life and decision-making, in politics, in leadership, in the church, in the arts, and we're going to talk about the men as well who are ensuring that women can participate equally and equitably in these spaces. But we ain't talking women today, per se. I want to talk about something else. Today, we're going to be talking about the National Honors System, but particularly the nominations. So I'm going to put out my first question for the day to my audience is, who should be nominated or chosen for national honors and why? Through the show, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the description of the awards and the criteria for eligibility. We're going to look at the nomination form, but I'm going to ask us some questions. Because before we could decide who we're going to honor, we got to figure out what it means to honor somebody. How do we honor people? What are the values and characteristics do we think are worth honoring? And how do we, as a collective, make that decision? So I saw some really interesting things in the paper this morning. So if you ain't too interested in talking about honors, like the nominations, there's some things I think we could talk about that really highlight how important honor and how we perceive the process of honoring people and things in our country. So there's some interesting things in today's paper. The first is The Perspective by Sharon Turner in the Nassau Guardian. A must-read, Bahamians, a must-read. The title is, or the headline is, Erosion of Trust. And I'm just going to read a little bit from the headline, from the beginning of the story, by Sharon Turner. In what appears to be an attempted spin-over the departure of 4 ministers from the minister's cabinet this term, a narrative has emerged in some quarters that the resignations ought to be viewed through the lens of the Prime Minister's previous declarations that he would get rid of ministers who are guilty of wrongdoing. It is a somewhat crafty argument, but one that would be accepted only if individuals take a decidedly lazy approach to examining the known particulars of each resignation, as well as irregularities and common threads of occurrence in each case. What is closer to accurate is that resignations this term have done little to paint the Prime Minister as a leader who means business, and have instead done more to erode confidence in the Prime Minister's leadership, his administration, and the manner in which he deals with his cabinet colleagues. I would like to add, now these are my own words, more importantly, it erodes confidence in the PM's ability and potentially willingness to maintain and adhere to the rule of law, which I think is far more problematic. But see, I like this as a part of our discussion because typically ministers resign when they have done something dishonorable, right? And so in our discussion today, I want to talk about what does a minister have to do to get that title taken away from them. Now, I see I got a caller on the line. Here's what we're going to do, caller. I'm going to go to you dead quick before I read my intro. Caller, you on the clock. Caller, you there? You're not there? Okay, not a problem. So, sovereignty requires that we create the things we value, and we value the things we can create. We honor the things we value by committing our time, energy, and resources to preserving and replicating them. We create environments where children, young people, and guests to our country can learn about them and understand these values. We say Junkanoo is valuable to us, but are we seriously trying to preserve it for future Bahamians and Africans in the diaspora? Do we have museums to house the costumes or even digital archives to catalog them? We say we love Bahamian fruit, the plums and mangoes and dillies, but are we cultivating fruit trees? Are we learning how to propagate things that don't grow from seed, like scarlet plum and hog plum? I focus on agriculture so much because I want us to acknowledge and honor the people that ensure we can continue to eat the best fruit in the world, and that we preserve our culture and history by preserving our food. I sold a cup of lemonade to a 15-year-old girl a few years ago. When she tasted it, she frowned. She said, "Don't taste like real mango." I made it with hairy mangoes I picked from my own tree. And so I asked her, "Well, what does real mango taste like?" And she named off one brand name mango drink. I told her, the mango used in that drink isn't even grown in the Bahamas. And I was certain my drink was real mango because it was homemade. That was 8 years ago. There are lots more Bahamian children that have no idea what a cocoa plum tastes like, or a gooseberry, or governor's plum. They love apples, but can't stand juju. And plenty of adults have never tried fried hog banana, but eat a Cavendish banana almost every day of their life. In fact, I don't buy lemongrass. I pick fever grass. I know they're the same thing, the very same thing. See, but I use fever grass. We in African diaspora spaces, we typically call it by what it is good for, reducing a fever. In other cultures, they call it what it tastes like, lemon. Did you know that sesame seed and Benny is the exact same thing? I can find sesame seeds in practically every large food store, but no local Benny or local tahini. And I don't know why, because tahinis make plenty money. I mean, I know why. Cultural imperialism is why. Cultural imperialism is when a small community is dominated by a larger community's culture, like the Bahamas and the US or Great Britain and Europe. So you see, we have to take the job, the obligation, the duty of honoring things, the things and people we value far more seriously than we ever have. We have to take the process out of the hands of politicians, or at the very least, structure the process so that citizen input and involvement is prioritized at every stage. So I'm going to take a break, and when we come back from the break, I'm going to throw out that question, and I'm going to throw out a lot more questions, things that I think we should talk about. But I'm also going to read the orders, some of the descriptions, and tell you about what I found when doing the research for this conversation today. Thank you, Kermit. You're listening to 96.9 FM. You're on the clock with Erin Greene, and we're going to be back after this short break.
Jackie's a hard worker with a steady income, but she has a personal loan and multiple credit cards to pay off. To keep her account current, Jackie opted for a loan from Fidelity Bank to consolidate her debt into one monthly payment and earn interest on a built-in savings account. Be like Jackie. Call 356-7764 to book a complimentary financial coaching session. Fidelity also offers virtual assistance. Fidelity, we're good for you.
For the past 33 years, Great Commission Ministries has been defending the poor and hurting, feeding the hungry, and sheltering the homeless. We invite you to support our Live to Give program and make a difference in these challenging times. Become a donor by giving a one-time annual gift or a monthly donation of $50 or $100. Call Great Commission Ministries at 325-5801 for more details, or visit our headquarters at 237 Wolf Road. Join Live to Give today. This public service announcement is proudly sponsored by this radio station.
When you get your child immunized, you are protecting him or her from diseases and also creating a safer community. It took many years for the Bahamas to get rid of infections such as polio, mumps, and measles. Keeping up with your child's immunization schedule so that they are fully protected can keep these diseases from coming back. The COVID-19 pandemic should not stop your child from getting immunized. Even if your child missed an appointment, they should continue with follow-up visits to catch up with their immunizations. Contact your nearest clinic or healthcare provider for more information or to make an appointment. Remember, immunizations are free at all government healthcare facilities. Prevent disease. Immunize, please.
This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
In life, there are always challenges. Today, we find ourselves having to be more self-sufficient, socially aware, and technically savvy. At J.S. Johnson, we are committed to our customers by providing cost-effective insurance solutions. No matter what your insurance needs, we will always be here for you. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com. J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers, giving you peace of mind.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Good morning, Bahamas. You're on the clock with Erin Greene. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're talking National Honors Systems. Last night I saw on my WhatsApp news feed that the nominations for National Honors had been released, right? And so I said, wow, I didn't hear about it. And then I did some research, and here's what I found. First thing I found was this. There is virtually no real information about the National Honors System anywhere online. So I went to the government's website, and I found a printout from the ministry outlining the nominations. It was sparse, very short. It lists the honors and some small details, but I couldn't find any information telling me how it was established, what's the ideology it was rooted in, was there a series of discussions leading up to it, where can those discussions be found? There's no link to parliamentary debate about the issue, the history of the issue, and more importantly, there were no spaces really laying out the criteria, right? The criteria for being honored and for the particular awards. And I found that very troubling, because how does the average person participate in this process without the structure of a system? Like, what are the conversations we're having about it? So I realized that maybe it's not as important or as valuable to us because we don't understand it. It's not like Bahamians don't want to honor other Bahamians. It's that this whole process seems to not really be about us. The first thing that happened, I went to the government website. I was able to access it. I found some things. Then I tried to follow the link to print the nominee form. And the government website went down. So I had to go online to search for information. And I found very little information. So I had to go and find the act and print the act. And that's where I found most of my information. So I realized that the advisory committee and I think the independence committee got to do a lot more work, right? Making this real to Bahamians, putting the criteria, the information in easily accessible spaces and easily accessible language, right? So more and more ordinary Bahamians could participate in it. So I see I got a call on the line. Caller, you're on the clock. Good morning, caller. You there?
Good morning, Erin. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. How you do?
I'm fine. Happy March.
Happy March.
So what's, I think, the Dilly month is in March, Erin?
Say that again?
The Dilly.
Oh, yeah. It's Dilly season. I don't really talk about Dilly because I don't want the raccoons to know.
Boy, Erin, you need to talk about that. So many things you could do with Dilly.
Yeah, man. But we ain't talking agriculture today, except in this sense, right?
You talk about women.
No, we're talking about the National Honor System, how we honor people.
Oh, I know. I get about the comment on that.
Yeah.
Show that Dilly, or just because it's our culture. You normally talk about feeding ourselves.
But right,
you know, I don't trust the honorary system.
Go on. Okay, tell me why.
The average person always get left for the big-time religious person and the big-time politicians, sorry. If you notice over the decades since, even the Heroes Commission disappoint me. The Heroes Commission planned itself out with my good friend Freddie Mullins and all of them to honor that high-class reverence and high-class politician to the government house. When have you ever seen an average man out there who's striving and contributing to this community be on it? How many times you see that?
Okay, so it's two things, right?
Uh-huh.
The very same thing you're talking about. I found an article from 2019 from another news media house, an article about Sebastian Campbell, and he had the very same comments, right?
And apparently you're not afraid, I'm disappointed in him.
Right. The program is supposed to be for persons of a lower degree.
Yes.
Right. Now, and it goes on to say, now it is still too heavy with politicians who receive the honors of distinction. So here's what I found out in my research, right? The system has an advisory council, right? And that advisory council makes recommendations to the Prime Minister.
Yeah, I heard that.
Right.
I see that, but I got to be changed.
Now, watch this. Do you know how advisory councils work in this country?
Yeah.
looking up, it's a schedule, it's the third schedule. So if you have access to the to the act, it's the third schedule. It's right at the end, right? And it talks about the composition of the advisory council or the committee, right? And it sits on it, 2 shall be from the House of Parliament, 1 whom shall be nominated by the Prime Minister, and 1 whom shall be nominated by the leader of the opposition, right? 1 shall be a serving member of the judiciary nominated by the Chief Justice. 1 shall be nominated by the Commander of the Defense Force. 1 by the Commissioner of Police. 1 by the Council of, now this says College of the Bahamas, but of course that body is now UB. 4 shall be nominated, there's only 1 from UB. And so far that's 2 from Parliament,
2 from Parliament,
1 from the
2 from
judiciary,
Parliament.
1 from defense, 1 from police, right?
Right.
And 4 shall be nominated by the Prime Minister after
Jesus.
consultation with the leader of the opposition. So all of those people have been appointed in one way or the other by the Prime Minister, right?
Right.
And so maybe we need to change the constitution of the advisory committee and how we select those people to sit on the committee.
But when you listen to the priest and Evangelion and Freddie Money, their philosophy was no politician would get involved and mangling the honorees.
Okay.
So they turn around, you go back in history, I read it, and turn around, they give it to them.
So watch this. Here's the second more important thing. We have to understand how advisory committees and councils and bodies operate in this country.
Right, but they know this, and they still do it.
Pause. They are trying to make a change.
They wasn't trying to make no change. I know you're putting it up.
Listen.
To me, he doesn't try to make no change.
Every single civil society space that I've been involved in, right, where there's an advisory body, the vast majority of the people sitting on those bodies really are committed to making change in those spaces, right? The system, the structure of the system only allows for advisory bodies. But the political culture, right, in practice has shown me that these bodies really only operate as advisory bodies, like think tanks, right? And the government...
The average man, the public, know this heroes committee in its beginning was based with lab of political favoritism.
Okay, I would say no. Because Father Sebastian Campbell, the most prominent voice, right, has been demanding this for decades through administrations. And he played, as far as I could see from his public discourse, I ain't see him playing curry favor.
I'm a candidate right now on the street, knocking on my door, telling me they demanding change. All of them talking about change when they get there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So...
okay, but when they get there, so the hero could be doing what the candidates are doing now, but when they get there, it's still cooked with politicians.
Well, what we have found, and what I've continued to point out, is that the political culture, right, is so massive and overwhelming that most people, once they join a party or they become an elected member of parliament or a cabinet minister, they become overwhelmed to the point where they can no longer find balance, right, with their obligations to personal...
I see what you get there, because a backbencher I rather my MP stay a backbencher, but when he become a minister, he become the servant to the master on whatever thing the master do. But a backbencher, his people, is his boss.
Well, his people,
and you get more result. Since my MP being a minister, he's not. He don't represent me no more when we talk about.
Right. And so, for the last month, I've been talking about that when we talk politics, that when you are interrogating politicians' decisions and trying to determine their motivations, right, you have to determine the balance that they're trying to create between their obligation to party, obligation to constituents, obligation to Constitution and the rule of law, obligation to the Prime Minister and the administration, obligation to the cabinet, right? And so all of these things have to be balanced. But to the question of why do we not see ordinary people on the board, I mean, being honored, right? One of the reasons may be because the people who are sitting on the boards making the recommendations are only acting in an advisory capacity and are not making the actual decisions themselves. But listen, I got another caller on the line.
So quickly, I recommend to change that. Let's quickly introduce local government.
Right. See?
We'll talk about that next time.
Right. Local government can be a way that we can center the citizen in the decision-making process, right, for national honor systems and in a number of processes. Let me get to my next caller. Caller, you're on the clock. Caller, you still there? Did I lose you? I am sorry, caller. Please call back. So, right, some of the questions I have for us today are, I got my notes all over the place. Forgive me. Who is a hero? Who is a national hero? How do we define them? Did they help to construct the vision of the modern Bahamas? Did they drive or contribute to the development of the nation? Did they dedicate themselves to service of others? Did they use their wealth to support others or give them access to greater opportunities? Or the little that they had, not just their wealth, but the little that they had, did they give their lives in the service of or to protect others? Right? And these are some of the things that we should be considering when we decide who is a national hero. I got a caller on the line. Caller, you're on the clock.
Good morning, Ms. Greene.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Sparky here. Hope your family's doing well.
Yeah, man. We good.
You know, for years, since even before the talk show lines were opened up, if your producer could give me a few minutes here.
Now,
Sparky,
hold on, Sparky. Before you go on, right? I can give you a few minutes. I don't have a problem with that. Because we honor each other, right? By maintaining the social contracts. And one of the social contracts is that there's a space for everybody's voice, right? So I don't have a problem with giving you a couple minutes.
Okay. You know, I listened to you just now. I listened while you spoke. I don't like to be in the quiet, you know.
I hear you.
I like to listen when other people spoke, and then you got some talk show hosts. As soon as the caller called and they start talking, the talk show host start talking right over the caller.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't be conscious of it. You did that to me the other day when I called it. But anyway, good morning. But I wanted to say in regards to on the national heroes and everything like that, we have to go back many years because we look at it. We got this social gathering of groups of people that honor who they want to honor. We use this terminology, friends, families, and lovers. Mr. Leon Williams one time said we still living in a plantation society. In regards to who built this country, who did everything, we always talk about our national, the father of the nation, and all these people that they invite to go up to the government house to bow down and worship some governor, some representative of the Queen or something up there on Harmony Hill or whatever they call that hill up there, the mountain. But we don't even discuss the people who really built this country. When we went into tourism in Stafford Sands, and we opened up this country to the hotels and tourism, from Montague Beach straight to Life at Key. When those people used to come into the Bahamas, there was a saying, sun, sea, and sand. But the people used to always say, because I remember as a Bahamian when they interviewed tourists, what they like about the Bahamas, and they used to say, they love the people. They love the smiles. They love the hard work we put into our jobs. When we went around those hotels, the way the waiters dressed with gloves and stiff clothes and clean, shine shoes and beautiful hair shaven and everything. The waitresses. When we went down into the straw market, those smiles to those ladies, sticking holes in their fingers, making baskets with little toy dolls and the Bahamas name all over it with the touch and everything like that. When those people were working so hard, the Surrey drivers and all of those people, to build this country, and especially the entertainers. Those entertainers had some people I knew. I had friends from Chicago and Detroit used to come here 3 times a year. Kept coming back every time there was a holiday. They went to the Bahamas. But you know what we did? The politicians used the entertainers like Sidney Raymond and Senior, Mr. Senior. What his name was again? From the Cat and Fiddle. They used these people's buildings. They used their bands to bring the black people to power. And then you know what they did, Miss Greene? They took the power from the entertainers, from all the hard-working straw market people and the waiters and everything, and they put them back on the plantation, and they took the power for themselves.
Sparky,
the politicians took the power for
Sparky,
themselves.
let me ask you a question.
They threw all the entertainers out of jobs. Entertainers turned from guitar players to ferry drivers and taxi drivers.
Sparky, let me ask you a question. Do you think that we have, for a long time, confused money with honors, or have allowed ourselves to be confused or sort of tricked into believing that this money you're going to make is equal to honors that you deserve?
I believe we were originally, in our hearts, we were originally a real, down-to-earth Christian nation. But then we got into greed for the love of money. We talking about building this country, but we importing everything. We talk about the amount of billions of dollars we import from food. But guess what? Every prime minister that goes in House Assembly walks around with his back pocket and his briefcase full with clean land, what was supposed to be given to the Bahamian people to do farming and everything. They give it to their friends, family, and lovers who build churches on the land and apartments on the land. People like myself who've been trying to get into farming from Mr. Piddling time can't get an acre of land, but they can give land to juggalos to build juggalo costumes.
Now, hold on, Sparky.
Food.
Sparky, okay, but we can't see two things. You can't have the agriculturalists and the junkanooers competing against each other. See, that's the political culture, right? The political culture have you believing you got to fight another group in the country to get what you deserve, right? And I think a lot of what you were talking about could sort of be summed up in this question that we have to interrogate, right? Are we only honoring politicians and people who have made political achievements because we have allowed the political class and the political culture to dominate, right, the process, to define the process, to define the system and the culture, right? As long as we allow politicians to tell us what honor is and how it should operate, then we will only be honoring politicians, and we'll only be honoring the politicians who suit their agenda, right? And so what we got to do is figure out how to take the process back. Now, there are a couple of ways we could do that. The first is we could have our own honors system or our own process, right, of determining who should be honored. As a private sector initiative, we take that on. We build partnerships with all sectors of society to not just support it financially and make sure that we can do it and sustain it, but so that we can get voices from all sectors of society. But you see, we got to do the work. We got to take it on. As long as we sit back and say that politicians are responsible for this thing, then they're going to do it however they want to do it, right? And so one of the big questions I wanted to ask us today, or I wanted for us to think about, is what does honorable mean? And how do we honor systems and things, right? Let's say I got a caller on the clock. I'm going to go on the line. I'm going to go to that caller because I lost the last one. Caller, you're on the clock.
Yes, good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How you do?
Not bad. You know about honor, right? I think we just get the word honor mixed up sometimes, or the action. You see? Someone could be honorable, right? But you don't have to be honorable to do the honorable thing. If, like say in his resignations, when an MP resigns, he needs to do the honorable. He's doing the honorable thing. He's doing the right thing, the respectful thing. But he himself doesn't have to be honorable. That's why we say, the FNM does the honorable thing, but the PLP does not do the honorable thing. That's all it means. You see, it doesn't mean that the person who's doing the honorable thing is honorable. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I got a question here. We are quick to honor politicians, but what does an ordinary person have to do to be considered honorable, right? But on the flip side, I got another question. While I was sitting thinking about that, right? I thought, but look, politicians, they automatically get the title of honorable, right? When they become MPs, when they become cabinet ministers, when they become prime minister. But what does a politician have to do to get the title removed or taken away from them? Right? Because I see this thing, first of all, how did the prime minister get the title the most honorable? And what does that mean? Right? And is this the first or only time a PM was given that title? Like, how did he get that? Right? And will it be conferred to other PMs after him? And what does the most honorable mean if you could just pop up one day and attach it to your name? But I got another caller on the line, and go to that caller, and then I can get back to that question. Caller, you're on the clock.
Good morning, Ms. Greene.
Hey, good morning. How you do?
I'm doing very well. For the purposes of this call, I would identify myself, Fred Munnings,
Yes,
member
sir.
of the National Heroes Committee.
Mm-hmm.
I heard one of your callers, a few calls back,
Mm-hmm.
spoke specifically to my involvement with the committee. And I wouldn't give any more time to trying to correct his inaccuracies.
Mm-hmm.
But he is dead wrong. He needs to go and do more research before he starts shooting off at the mouth. The National Heroes Committee for more than 25 years have advocated to establish the National Honors Award. And finally, they were done, I think, in 2013 and came into enforcement around 2015 and I think inaugurated in 2017 or thereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
We have worked assiduously to try to get the respective governments, both the FNM and the PLP governments, who both supported the establishment of the national awards, to get the people of the country to determine who the awardees would be.
Mm-hmm.
As you have articulated very correctly, there is an advisory committee. It was appointed by and identified in the Act, as you see who the representatives are. I can tell you that no member of the National Heroes Committee, other than the Honorable Fred Mitchell, who I believe in this instance represents the official opposition, sit on the advisory committee. We have been saying to them since they established the advisory committee that it's been bastardized and politicized, and therefore it needs to come back to the people.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely correct. Until the Bahamian people determine who our heroes are, we are going to continue to be governed and hoodwinked and bamboozled by respective government representatives. It has been politically bastardized, it has to be changed, and only the voice of the people will cause that to happen.
Absolutely.
And so I am continued to advocate, as is the National Heroes Committee under the leadership of Sebastian Campbell, the Honorable Canon Sebastian Campbell.
Yes.
Not even him, as chairman, sit on the advisory committee.
Wow.
It is completely disgusting and disrespectful, and we are calling on the government of the day to make the difference and include ordinary people of the various social interests, religious interests, and interests of the people, the family islands, for example. All of these respective communities need to be able to contribute to who we determine to be our national hero.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. I will be reaching out to you shortly, because I think I want to continue this conversation. I think we need to continue this conversation, because I don't think we have taken the time ruminate, right? Like Rastaman say, to overstand the vibe and get a sense of how important this conversation is to us as a people, right? Because we're not just talking honors, we're talking systems, right? And we're not just talking systems, we're talking values. How do we show honor to the things we value? Well, we do it by creating systems, right? But you can't just create a system and throw it in the bush. And, you can't just push and think it could grow. Some will, not all will. They require maintenance and attention. But I got another caller on the line. Caller, you're on the clock.
Yes, good morning, Miss Greene.
Hey, good morning. How you do?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's always a pleasure to hear you. I always like listening to Mr. Munnings.
Oh, yeah.
I agreed with everything he said, and so we need a reorientation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, me personally, I would like to see a law enacted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since they so caught up on this term honorable, right? I'd like to see a law enacted that once you lie to the people, then we strip the name that name from in the front of your title, because if Oban still lurks in the dark. Once you lie to the people and it's been proven, then you're not honorable. This is just what it is. I can't see it no other way, Miss Greene. Did you know that the British Empire forbid other countries to use the term royal in the front of their name? Have a good day.
Wow. Now, in doing some research, right, I thought I saw that one of the awards, one of the honors, is awarded the title of the most honorable, right? But as I'm looking at my notes now, I can't find it. So that question is a big question for me, right? And I got a texter here that asks, please clarify that for me, the most. Only God of the kingdom is the most. How did the PM got that attachment, right? And so I could have sworn I saw it here. I'm going to reach out to Mr. Munnings and the committee to get as much documentation as I can around the construction of the committee, the honors system, so we could compile it in one place. But the question I had was, did the Prime Minister see on the construction of the award systems, right, that was enacted or established by the National Honors Act in 2016, did he see that one of these awards is conferred the title of most honorable and decided that if anybody could be most honorable, it'd have to be him because he is the Prime Minister, right? See, systems are important. If we value our Constitution and our system and our system of governance, right, then we will maintain that system. We will learn about that system. We will interrogate it rigorously. Now, this is my most favorite part. If you believe in your system of governance and you honor the idea of sovereignty in this nation-state construct, then you're going to not just learn how it functions, you're going to learn about how it should function, and you're going to interrogate it rigorously. You see, we got to start asking this question: how do we show value to the things, or how do we honor the things that are important to us? The first thing, right, that popped up to me was the institution of marriage, right? We say we value it. We say we honor it. But do we really? Do we really? Infidelity and adultery is so commonplace. Did we call it the culture of sweethearting? We don't stop to interrogate the anthropological and historical, right, factors that have led to this practice of relationships, right? Because when you talk to Dr. Nicolette Bethel and other professors at the University of the Bahamas, you come to learn that the nuclear family was never, right? There was never the common model in our time on the plantation and post-plantation slavery, right? But if you really say you value and you honor the institution of marriage, you will do that work. Instead of running around and telling you don't know why these people are always sweethearting because the nuclear family and marriage has always been so important to us. You would do the research, right? Another way I know that we don't really honor the institution of marriage is because of the lack of social support for married couples in the country. I mean, like real social support for married couples in the country. And the lack of access, the lack of services for married couples, right? and people in relation and people with relationship issues. That's another clear indicator to me that we don't honor the system or the institution of marriage in the way that we say. But I see we got a caller on the line. Caller, you're on the clock.
Good day, calling over from Miss Greene show.
Yeah, good morning. How you do?
Hey, morning, Erin. How you doing?
Good, good.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When we do this, and this topic came up with other talk show hosts before.
Yeah, a couple.
When we do this heroes, honorees, or awards, do you think people actually take out from numbers of persons who are not considered to be a name like certain type of family names in this country? I can tell you the reason I say that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take you back to the hurricane in Grand Bahama and Abaco. In particular, Grand Bahama that I know about.
Mm-hmm.
You had persons like, and I try to call these brothers' name on the call their name. They don't have no problem with that. You had persons like Billy Roll. You had persons like Ricky Martin. I'm talking about these people risk their lives, Miss Greene. Videos were showing before those gentlemen went, before the Defense Force, which is supposed to be a part of a rescue effort. Mm-hmm. Before the Defense Force went there, those gentlemen were there saving people on jet skis, and no one recognized them. They have not even named a street named after them in Grand Bahama, more or less.
So what?
And they are heroes.
Yeah.
Because they save lives. These people who they giving these medals to, ask them what have they ever contribute back to society. Ask them what they have contributed back to the poor people in particular. Nothing. Just the name.
Okay.
Come on, man. What happened to those gentlemen who saved hundreds of lives? Come on, man.
Okay.
They're heroes.
You look here. You absolutely right. You know who else is a hero? That crossing guard, right? That saw that something was awry or amiss with the young students.
Right.
See, even the dog agreed with the young students, right?
That's my pet barking. But Miss Greene, seriously speaking,
sorry about that, caller. You gotta get. See, I imagine the pit bull agree with us, and he get dead excited on that point. I agree with you, right? How do we ensure that these people are nominated? So I'm looking at the nomination form, right? And so the number 10 point on the nomination form is category. So I guess that's the category you think they should be honored or considered for. And they have here education, health service. Some of the pieces are not on the form. I think the form is not properly constructed. Education, health services, agriculture and fisheries, hospitality industry, community service, public service. But I'm missing D, E, F, G. I'm missing at least 4 categories from this list. They don't seem to have been aligned properly on the form on the government's website. But when we go to the list of the honors, right? Number 1, and they're listed in order of prominence. The Order of National Hero, the Order of the Nation, the Order of the Bahamas, the Order of Excellence, the Order of Distinction, the Order of Merit, the Order of Lignum Vitae, and then H, the last one is any other honor constituted by the Governor General by order. And it goes on to say, there shall be distinguished service medals in honor of exceptional service by Bahamians serving in public service, military service, police, fire, and prison services, and uniformed services. But I don't necessarily see, well, maybe community service, right? But maybe we need heroism and bravery in the face of danger or natural disaster or catastrophe. But how do we identify those people? How do we get them on the list, right? So this is a two-part it's a two-part solution. Half of the responsibility is of government to be constantly aware of how the categories will shift and grow, right? How people's perspectives on honor and who should be honored changes. So they should be constantly monitoring that and ensuring that their nomination process provides space, right, for those new people and concepts. Secondly, they should be emphasizing, the government should be emphasizing, this is also for ordinary people doing heroic and extraordinary things, And there should be, even on this nomination form, there should be lists of examples of characteristics or acts of service, right, or bravery that would qualify someone to be nominated on this form. Like I said, there's so little information and clarity around the information out there about the award that I understand why ordinary people aren't necessarily participating in it. So the Order of the Lignum Vitae, I think, is for specifically for people 25 years or younger, right? But how do you find out about them, right? How do you find out about the young people that are doing extraordinary things in the country if they've not been highlighted by a political party or a special interest group? Maybe you catch them in the media, and that's great, right? But how do people connect? How are people connecting with other people? This is why it's so important to tell stories and to tell all the stories. Now, I know that as a country that had a deeply entrenched drug culture and illicit drug trade culture, we have learned to not tell the stories, right? And for many of us, we have learned that out of a matter of safety and survival. But we have to discern what are the stories we need to tell and what are the stories that for our own safety we need to keep. Okay, I got a lot more questions. I want to get to these texts, but I'm going to read you all I think the question I want to leave you all with, the one I was most excited about but couldn't get to on the show, and that is we must recognize that people are fallible. They make mistakes, and sometimes we make mistakes constantly. But we are also open to change and we are adaptable. So at what point, right, do we say that somebody, despite all the good things that they've done, does not qualify to be honored in the national system? So I'm hoping I could get Brother Freddie Munnings on again to talk about that and to interrogate some more of these questions. Not just the question of why do we still have the two honor system if we created one to get rid of the other, but the question of what do we honor? How do we honor it? How do we ascribe value to things? How do we sustain that honor? So let me read these texts as we go, Bahamas. Thank you. Text, a great show as usual. Miss Greene, our beloved brother Freddie Munnings Jr. misunderstood the caller. The caller was not really picking at him or those and their committee. The caller was hinting that folks like Mr. Munnings' father and other citizens from various walks of life who were not politicians or connected to politicians, those people should also be honored for their sacrifices of nation building, not just politicians or those politically connected. Thank you for that sentiment, texter. Ms. Greene, no politician is worthy of a hero's award except maybe Randolph Fox. I feel the person whom was killed during our nation's riot should be a hero, but I don't even know that man's name. People like him who died fighting for our rights should be made national heroes. What do you think? Of course. Hi, Erin. Oh, yeah, I will get back to you, texter. And then my favorite text, too straight. And the person say, he's no DNA, but you keep spelling my name with no E, so you gotta be DNA. Anyway, Bahamas, thank you for joining me today and sticking with me. It was a full conversation. We're gonna flesh it out in the upcoming days. Tomorrow, we're gonna have an open mic. We're talking women in politics. We're talking about why so few and a couple of other things. Have a great day, Bahamas. Stay tuned. Your favorite, Levan Miller, and Unleash is coming up next. Have a great day, Bahamas.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.